We're here.
We're here. Oh my God, technical issues this morning. Good morning.
It's such a shit show.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tara.
We're joining you from the outside on our terrace in Montreal. It was a beautiful day, and we thought we would come here live for a change. So hopefully there's not too much background noise. Yeah.
Or too much snow. No snow
too much
yet.
snow. No much snow. Yeah, this place gets covered in snow,
Yeah,
like up to here, like in the winter.
Yeah, we should try and do it again in a few months.
Maybe with our coats on.
Yeah.
For anyone who's new to our group, we come live every, I almost said Friday, Monday.
You wanna like go back, or you wanna go forward?
Maybe go back.
Go back.
Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern. The replay is always in the group, so you can always catch it if you can't catch us live. So today we're doing something a little different. We're talking about the subject of cheating. So would love to know from you guys in the chat if you've ever cheated or if someone's cheated on you, whether in monogamy or non-monogamy. Yes.
I've been a cheater, and I've been cheated on, and I come from a long line of cheaters.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Oh, that's interesting. So
well, maybe let's talk about what cheating, what cheating is.
Okay.
Oh, well, you could talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
We're unscripted today.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there a difference between cheating in general or cheating in monogamy or polyamory? Is there a difference? What is cheating?
Well, it's interesting. I think people would have a different definition of what cheating is. And if anyone has their own definition, please drop it in the chat. But I think traditionally, maybe that's not the word, but like I think typically a lot of people think of cheating as having sex with someone else without the other person's consent. But
right there. So would it be having sex without someone else's consent? I think cheating can go well beyond that. You can have office affairs. There's an emotional component, right? It's the thoughts and feelings also that are not being openly expressed, right? Not to say that you have to announce all of your thoughts and feelings, that you can't have anything that's private, but is it information that you feel kind of self-creepy about if it were to be known, or you would feel awkward or anyway, right? So your intuition alerts you to the idea that something is not copacetic.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I cheated, the one time I cheated when I was married, for sure, it all started as an office little flirtation that became a friendship and, connecting and attraction, and probably was already cheating by that point. And then, it escalated to a physical sense. But I would say probably now looking back that it definitely would have been cheating back then. And I definitely felt bad about it at the time. So what about you?
Felt bad about it. Yeah, I was cheating.
Shame.
Total shame, right? And I would, have this harsh judgment about myself, and for good reason. The actions that I was doing were not esteemable acts, right? I was deciding for the other person what was going to fit me at that time. So I had an agreement with them that we were going to be a certain way, and it was not working for me, but I took it upon myself to modify those arrangements without consulting the other person, without informing them, without giving them a chance. Why did I do that? Because I was afraid that if I said I'd like somebody else, that it was going to hurt them, or that they would say, well, that's the end of us and they're going to reject me. So I basically manipulated them in the situation to feed my own desires, my own wants. And it left me feeling very bad about myself, horrible about myself. I didn't want to hurt them, but I also knew that I was not living my authentic self. It was not a good way of being for them or for me. But I was doing it because I did not feel secure enough to announce what I really wanted. The idea that I might like them, but I might like somebody else also. And the model that I was given was, well, no, you have a little friend and they have you, and that's it. And that's it. It was in this little parameter, and I could not go outside. I did not think that it would be acceptable to them. So it left me feeling as though I was sneaky and deficient and all these things. And if I really was that much of a liar, it would not have bothered me much. But I wasn't that way. I'm a very honest person. So those things really bothered me. We were talking the other day with some friends, and you announced very casually and very matter-of-factly that you had cheated. And I announced, and I've told you many times, that I cheated. So then people would be like, well, if you were out with a cheater and they were a cheater, how could you ever have trust? But yet I feel that I can trust myself more today than I ever have, and I feel I can trust you And I know that if you want something else, you would be able to tell me, because you will be true to yourself and you will announce your authentic, honest position. And that makes me feel more secure. Now I know that, yes, you saw that cheating was not viable for you. You did that because you didn't have other ways of being like myself. But now you realize it, and now you make the decision to do what you want to do without feeling as though you have to kind of go around in a sneaky, underhanded, cheating kind of way. So I found people that would say, yes, I also subscribe to your idea that it's not a limited one-on-one kind of thing, that you could love multiple people or do whatever way you want to relate without any kind of moral judgment to it. So now I became more secure in the idea that I could announce myself as I am and find other people who would also accept that and tell me that they're similar that way. And it made me feel that I could be honest with myself and others. So knowing that you were able to admit that you cheated makes me feel that you're being very honest about it. In the past, I would have been embarrassed. If I let her know that I'm a cheater, she's going to think I'm going to cheat on her too.
Well, and people do feel that way, but I think that's a good segue into this idea about cheating and being in an open relationship or polyamory, because you hit on one word, which I think is important to talk about, which is the idea of trust. And I think that's where you can come into issues in polyamory, being open and honest. Because, I mean, if you're doing it the way I would say we subscribe to, where you're being open and honest about everything, you're talking about, what types of agreements you have and you're keeping with those agreements, then everything's great. But it's when you have that, idea or that want to sneak around or feel like you have to sneak around still, that this idea of maybe cheating or more like betrayal may come in.
It's interesting. As you're saying that, I'm thinking about the excitement, though, right? Doing something taboo. But I think we could still, it's almost like playing out those rape scenarios or, a whole bunch of different kink things where we could have the agreement to do that. So we could be in agreement to cheat on each other in a sense, as like a kink kind of deal.
True.
Right? I mean, if you get excited by the idea that it's like, hushed and we have to kind of like do this on the down low, that might be exciting. But at the end of the day, I need to feel comfortable with who I am as a person, feeling that I'm honest, and it's much more liberating.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely talked to people as recent as last week where there has been a breakdown in trust because someone has done something, and I think this is pretty common, that they felt was against their agreements or their understanding. And I think this is the spot where people run into issues because, often when people, I think, open up, or even if they've been doing it for a while, you may believe that you have a certain understanding about something. Or desire a change, and you may make the change without there being discussion with the other person. And I think that's where, this idea of betrayal, cheating, whatever you want to call it, distrust can come into play, and it can be quite painful and difficult to get over.
Yeah, it's neither ethical nor collaborative, right? You're not consenting to it; it's being made for you, and that is very difficult. So the idea of trust comes up, and then we have to kind of rebuild that trust, and it's not always an easier thing. So it's easier to avoid those missteps to begin with, obviously, right? Yeah, but we can walk back from violations like that. We can walk back from when the trust is violated, and it is a lengthy process at times, but it can be done. So not all hope is lost. But what's interesting in the model of lying, the model of cheating is, okay, we'll say, I go out on a date and I don't tell you about it, but I end up sleeping with this person, and then you find out about it. I didn't tell you about it. I lied about it. I said I was going bowling when in fact I was out fooling around.
Oh, are you speaking in a situation where we're already polyamorous?
Yeah, let's say in this, right?
Okay.
So
cool.
Somehow you don't like this person or whatever the circumstances, and I take it upon myself to go out and I do this, right? So whether it's mono or poly, doesn't matter. It's about the idea of the action, sleeping with the person or going bowling with them or whatever it might be, but then knowing that it's not part of our agreement, knowing that it's not been, that you've not had consent or that it violates our agreement, whatever it might be. So what happens is the idea that I went bowling with this other person becomes secondary. What it really is about is the idea that you now caught me in a lie and feel like you can't trust me, and for good reason. So now the idea of the bowling is secondary. That's not what it's about. It's about the idea that we were not being open, ethical, consenting, trustworthy, those things. And that's the real issue at hand. So while you might want to go bowling with the person, what are the consequences to not talking about it, and how would we ever come back from those feelings of betrayal and those feelings of mistrust?
Well, it's difficult, and I think it takes some time, right? It takes building up that trust again.
Yeah.
And, you know, what do you always say is doing redeemable acts?
Esteemable
acts.
Yeah, you're going to have to build your, the way that you are seen by the other person, their level of esteem that they hold you in. You will have to give them good reason why they should trust you again, and how you will be open and honest. And it might not be so easy at times to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of communication, open communication, and really listening and understanding. Even the person that did the thing, you know, did the cheating or whatever, and sharing, you know, what might have been going on with yourself in that situation and what caused you to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what was that play that I felt I had to go bowling without your knowledge? What was it that, you know, so we had an agreement that you didn't want me to bowl with this person or do any bowling outside of it, whatever the scenario. So what's going on in our relationship, in our communication pattern style, that I feel that it is difficult or near impossible to communicate openly with you about that? So now I have to know going into the situation, yes, I'll be able to go and do the bowling, and I might even get away with it, but I'll have to hold those feelings. But when and if it comes out, it'll not be about the bowling, it'll be about the violation of trust.
I think I have to say, just because you gave an example and you said I didn't like the person you were going bowling with, is that I would not prevent you from going bowling with somebody.
Well, maybe
a certain person.
Yeah, but if you felt that this person was dangerous, inappropriate, whatever,
for sure,
you might have concerns. And listen, I really don't want this
for
happening.
Your safety.
Or maybe they've always been horrible to you for whatever reason, and you're like, you know what, this person just rubs me the wrong way. I'm not the type of person who puts preventive measures or asks you to have limitations, but in this case, it's important to me.
Yeah, I think it's hard to be honest sometimes because you are afraid of how the person might take it. You know, it's like when I recently met somebody, it's like I really like them, and it's like I want to spend time with them and hang out with them, but part of me wants to hide that from you because it's part of past patterns, right? I'm not sure if anyone had these situations arise. I'd love to hear in the chat.
That's a great question, but it's a very interesting point. So I am now anticipating how your ego is going to experience this, and I want to protect you. So because I want to protect you, I'm going to decide for you that you needn't hear this information because I know it's going to be hurtful for you. So I'll make the decision on your part. So my intention is wonderful. I don't want to hurt you, but yet, is it really so wonderful that I make the decision for you? I'm thinking, no. I think you should have to deal and be able to deal with your own thoughts and feelings about it, and I should be able to tolerate whatever I think you're.
This is why I think that sometimes I hear people have don't ask, don't tell relationships, and I feel that you can get into some sticky situations in this sort of thing. I don't know.
Well, you know, it might not be the model that you subscribe to, but for some people, it really does work, right? They don't want to know the details of it. They basically have this understanding. I've got the general sense that you're going to, or you might go out and do these things, and that's good. I don't want to know. But the part about it that should be still subscribing to is the idea that we're both consenting to don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah.
It's not just
you're putting up with it.
Right, or it's like, you know, I've decided for us that I'm not going to tell you. I'm not like, don't ask me. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to go do it.
Yes.
So we should both be on board and consenting.
Yeah.
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
It's a beautiful day today. It's finally.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day.
Do we want to say anything else about cheating and betrayal? I mean, I think the important thing is that if there is something that you want to change in your relationship and you do have agreements or that sort of thing, you know, is to have the talk about it. You know, you want to maintain that trust and you want to keep that situation. I think that's why, you know, part of our program, we have talk about relationship agreements and basing them on your values, what you value in your relationship. So for us, honesty is one of the key values we have, and we have agreements based on keeping that honesty.
But you mentioned something earlier when we spoke about this, and we were talking about how some people think that being polyamorous is a license to cheat.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
I remember I was speaking to somebody who was very old school, and they themselves were a bit of a cheater. And when I told them that I was in an open relationship, right away, they're like, what? Like, you're allowed to cheat? And I'm like, no, like, that's not what it is at all. It's not a feeling of cheating. It's a feeling of honesty and being able to be informed and deciding that you want to participate in this or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few moments later, they played up the scenario in their head and like, whoa, that means that they can do that as well. And I guess that was not good for their ego, but yes, it means that they can do it as well, that I'm consenting to that as well. And we've decided together to go this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And everyone does it a little bit differently. And that's also important to be clear in your relationship too, is like, what model do you want? Or at least what model do you want to start with? And how do you build, the foundation of your relationships based on that particular model? Yeah. Because everyone does it differently, right? We met up with some friends this weekend and we all have a slightly different model that we've adopted. And, and that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And letting other people know what your model is.
Well, I think that's pretty cool too, because when we announced we've got something coming up that we're going to be doing, and they'd not participated in anything like this. And I think for them, it was kind of eye-opening in a way, right? I mean, they were both sets of couples were kind of intrigued by it, and they are not practicing what we're going to do. They've not experienced that model, the international.
Oh, yes. Okay, right. Yeah, so part of that is having conversations. We're all having conversations. We're going to have conversations about it.
Yeah.
So if you're watching, we're having conversations about it.
But what I liked is that we were able to speak about it in a very open and candid way without any kind of embarrassment or moral attachment to it. We're just speaking about it in a matter-of-fact kind of way. But it helps to normalize that there are, as you say, many, many different models, and none are more valid than any other. That we speak about it, and we can decide together what works for us and what we're wanting, as you can do for yourselves.
Yeah, and I think if you are, feeling pain or suffering because of something breakdown in communication or trust within your relationship, that communication is the key, and just taking the time to really talk and listen to each other. And it's so important. It's hard, communication is hard. It's not easy. We've got a couple of videos in the group, but if you ever need help with this, just let us know. It's something we do as part. It's actually the first module of our program, which starts the second week of September. Yeah, so excited to get started. Almost next week. Well, yeah, it's the week of September 12th. So if you want to know about that, let us know as well. Soon. Yeah. Well, the school's starting. It's a perfect time, right?
It is,
you don't. I think people. You don't want to head into the fall, I think, and into all the holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that stuff in pain. I think it's kind of the hardest thing. I mean, I went through a breakup over that period once, and it was kind of the worst thing. So, you want to be feeling good and enjoy those times with family.
All right. Well, let's find out how to do that.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Hope the sound was okay, even with the little bit of wind out here. I just noticed my hair is blowing, so hopefully it's not too windy for you. And we'll see you again here at 11 a.m. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat or send either of us a message. And yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll chat soon.
Bye.
Bye.